Have you ever felt like the world is watching you, judging you, even when you've done nothing wrong? Like unseen eyes are tracking your every move, whispering narratives about you that aren't true. This isn't just paranoia. For some, it has become a lived reality. Across communities, countless individuals report experiences of slander, character attacks, bullying, and coordinated harassment that seem designed to isolate and intimidate. While these experiences are often dismissed as exaggerations, the emotional and psychological impact is very real. It raises an important question. How do we respond to a world that sometimes seems determined to misrepresent and target certain people? Character defamation has existed for as long as society itself. From whispered rumors in villages to public smear campaigns in modern digital spaces, humans have always wrestled with the tension between truth and perception. But in today's hyper-connected world, the consequences can be far more severe. A single false post online can ripple through networks, shaping opinions, affecting careers, and even endangering lives. What does it mean to live under this constant scrutiny? And more importantly, how can communities and even institutions respond responsibly to protect those being unfairly targeted? Gang stalking, as it is sometimes described, takes this concern to another level. Unlike conventional bullying, which often occurs in limited contexts, gang stalking can feel pervasive, coordinated, and inescapable. Reports describe systematic targeting, where individuals feel monitored in public and private spaces, sometimes accompanied by harassment designed to undermine their mental and emotional stability. While some of these claims are met with skepticism, psychologists and legal experts acknowledge that persistent social targeting and harassment can have profound effects on well-being. It invites us to think deeply about the ethical responsibilities of both bystanders and authorities. If someone is being unjustly targeted, should not there be mechanisms to investigate and support them? And yet, the issue is not only about external actions. It also challenges us to examine our own perceptions of truth and bias. When someone's character is questioned or their experiences are dismissed, it reflects broader societal tendencies to judge quickly, to label without evidence, and to sometimes side with collective narratives over individual realities. Are we complicit in these patterns, even unintentionally, when we share unverified information or fail to question what we hear? Engaging with this topic requires a delicate balance, acknowledging real harm, recognizing the human capacity for malice, but also remaining critical and discerning in the stories we accept as truth. This investigation into slander, bullying, and gang stalking is not just about uncovering wrongdoing. It is also a reflection on the nature of justice, accountability, and empathy. Who gets to define what is true? How do we safeguard individuals from coordinated harm while preserving fairness and due process? And perhaps most crucially, what can each of us do to foster a culture where truth, respect, and human dignity are upheld, even amid conflict and disagreement? As we explore these questions, it becomes clear that this is a story not just of victims and perpetrators, but of society's ongoing struggle to reconcile freedom, morality, and responsibility. The patterns of harassment and character attacks we're discussing often start subtly. It might begin with small whispers, insinuations, or online comments that seem harmless at first glance. But over time, these small acts can accumulate, creating an environment where the targeted individual feels constantly unsafe, watched, or undermined. How often do we underestimate the cumulative weight of these minor assaults? In isolation, one unkind word might seem insignificant, but repeated over weeks, months, or even years It can erode confidence, self-worth, and peace of mind. Understanding this gradual escalation is crucial because it shows us that what may appear to be trivial social friction can, in fact, be part of a larger, coordinated pattern. The digital age has magnified these challenges exponentially. Social media platforms, forums, and messaging apps provide new avenues for both connection and harassment. False narratives can spread faster than facts, often reaching thousands, if not millions, of people within hours. The line between private disagreement and public shaming has blurred. With such speed and scale, the question becomes, how do we protect individuals from harm while maintaining the open exchange of ideas that society relies on? Is it possible to create spaces that allow freedom of expression without enabling cruelty? Psychologists note that the effects of bullying and targeted harassment are not limited to emotional stress. Chronic exposure can lead to anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. When people feel trapped in environments where every action is monitored and every word is scrutinized, their sense of autonomy diminishes. This is why investigations into such patterns are essential, not only to hold wrongdoers accountable, but to restore trust and safety. Accountability is a cornerstone of a functioning society. If individuals or groups feel empowered to act without consequence, the moral fabric of the community is strained. We also have to examine the broader social dynamics at play. Often, those who engage in slander or coordinated harassment exploit existing prejudices, insecurities, or divisions. They manipulate perceptions, creating an us versus them mentality that amplifies conflict. Why does society so readily accept simplified narratives that target certain individuals? Why do collective biases sometimes outweigh evidence and fairness? Recognizing these dynamics is essential for developing empathy and critical thinking. It encourages us to question our own judgments, to pause before accepting or sharing information, and to consider the human lives behind the stories we hear. At the same time, it's important to reflect on resilience and response. Victims of slander and harassment often find ways to reclaim agency through community support, legal avenues, or personal strategies to maintain mental and emotional well-being. Their experiences highlight that even in the face of seemingly overwhelming pressure, human courage and persistence can make a difference. What lessons can we draw from these experiences? Perhaps it is the need for vigilance, empathy, and moral clarity. Perhaps it is the reminder that the integrity of society depends not only on laws, but on the choices each of us makes when confronting injustice, rumor, or harassment. One of the most challenging aspects of slander, bullying, and gang stalking is the uncertainty it creates. When someone is targeted, it's not always clear who is involved, what their motives are, or how far the influence reaches. This ambiguity can intensify fear and confusion. Humans naturally seek patterns and explanations, and when none are easily found, anxiety grows. How do we navigate a world where appearances can be deceptive, where intentions are hidden, and where the truth is often obscured by layers of misinformation? These questions strike at the core of how society functions, reminding us that justice and clarity are not automatic. They must be pursued with intention and care. Legal and ethical systems are slowly evolving to address these complex issues. Investigations into harassment, defamation, and coordinated targeting are increasingly recognizing the nuanced ways harm can be inflicted beyond physical or overtly visible acts. Courts and policymakers are exploring frameworks for digital harassment, online defamation, and psychological abuse, but legislation alone cannot resolve the problem entirely. True protection requires societal awareness, empathy, and a commitment to supporting victims. Without these, rules risk being theoretical tools rather than practical safeguards. How can communities, institutions, and individuals work together to ensure that protections are effective, fair, and responsive to real human experiences? It's also worth reflecting on the role of communication and technology. The very tools that allow for connection, social media, messaging platforms, and digital forums can also be weaponized for harm. While technology amplifies reach, it also increases responsibility. Every post, comment, or message can contribute to a narrative that either supports truth or spreads falsehood. As observers and participants, we must ask ourselves, when we engage online, are we perpetuating harm, or are we promoting fairness and understanding? The answer is rarely simple, but awareness is the first step toward accountability. Psychologically, targeted harassment can isolate individuals from their communities, creating a sense of vulnerability and loneliness. The erosion of social trust, both in close relationships and in public life, can have long-term consequences, affecting not only mental health, but also one's sense of identity and belonging. This raises an important ethical question. How do we as a society balance skepticism with support? How do we validate experiences without succumbing to bias or exaggeration? In exploring these questions, we are reminded that social cohesion relies on both vigilance and compassion. Finally, the resilience of those facing slander and harassment is striking. Despite intense pressure, many find ways to persevere, seeking justice, building supportive networks, or reclaiming their narrative through careful documentation and public advocacy. Their experiences teach us about the power of courage, discernment, and self-preservation in the face of persistent adversity. They also challenge us to examine our own responses. Are we passive observers, or are we willing to engage ethically, question assumptions, and act in support of truth and fairness? These reflections are not just about individual cases. They are about cultivating a society where integrity, accountability, and human dignity are central values. As we delve deeper into the realities of slander, bullying, and gang stalking, it becomes clear that these issues are not isolated incidents. They are reflections of larger societal patterns. They reveal how fear, envy, and prejudice can be manipulated to control narratives and marginalize individuals. When people are targeted, it is often not only the individual who suffers, but the entire community that is affected. Trust is eroded, social bonds are weakened, and a culture of suspicion can take hold. So the question arises, how do we repair these fractures and create environments where truth, fairness, and accountability are the norm rather than the exception? One critical element is awareness. Understanding the mechanisms of harassment, manipulation, and character defamation allows us to recognize when harm is being done. Education plays a vital role here. By fostering critical thinking, empathy, and discernment, communities can resist the spread of false narratives and offer genuine support to those who are targeted. Awareness also involves recognizing our own potential biases. Are we quick to believe negative reports about someone without verification? Do we unconsciously participate in spreading fear or judgment? By reflecting on these questions, we start to see how personal responsibility intersects with societal well-being. Investigations into these patterns are equally essential, whether conducted by authorities, independent organizations, or community-led initiatives. These inquiries aim to uncover the truth and establish accountability. They are a reminder that justice is not automatic. It requires careful examination, evidence, and ethical discernment. Yet, the process itself must be balanced with care, ensuring that the rights of all parties are respected. How can investigations be thorough without becoming invasive? How can they be fair while still addressing the real harm caused? These are complex questions, but grappling with them is necessary for meaningful progress. Support networks also play a pivotal role. Individuals facing harassment benefit enormously from communities that listen, validate their experiences, and provide practical assistance. Simple acts, being heard, acknowledged, or guided toward resources, can restore a sense of agency and reduce the isolating effects of targeted attacks. In many ways, the human response, our willingness to stand with one another, is as powerful as legal or institutional measures. It reminds us that morality and empathy are not abstract concepts. They are lived realities that shape the experience of justice and protection. Ultimately, the conversation about slander, bullying, and gang stalking is a reflection on ethics, human behavior, and the responsibilities we carry toward each other. It challenges us to question assumptions, confront cruelty, and seek fairness even in difficult circumstances. It also emphasizes the importance of resilience, courage, and moral clarity. By addressing these issues thoughtfully, we not only support those directly affected, but also contribute to a culture where integrity, respect, and human dignity are prioritized. And perhaps, in reflecting on these dynamics, we are reminded that the pursuit of justice is not a solitary endeavor. It is a collective responsibility, demanding awareness, courage, and compassion from each of us. While the previous parts have explored the challenges and responses to slander, bullying, and gang stalking, it's important to also consider the long-term implications for both individuals and society. When patterns of harassment persist unchecked, they can distort the way people interact, eroding trust and civility in communities. People begin to question motives, assume the worst, and withdraw from engagement out of fear. This creates a cycle where suspicion breeds more suspicion, and isolation becomes a default defense mechanism. How can we break this cycle? And what role does each person play in fostering a culture of integrity and respect? One key factor is accountability. True accountability goes beyond punishment. It encompasses understanding, correction, and systemic change. When perpetrators are confronted with the consequences of their actions, it not only discourages harmful behavior, but also validates the experiences of those who have been wronged. At the same time, accountability requires transparency and fairness. We must guard against overreaction or misattribution, ensuring that investigations and responses are rooted in evidence rather than assumption. This balance is delicate, but it is essential for sustaining trust in social and institutional systems. Equally important is resilience. Individuals who endure harassment often develop strategies for maintaining mental and emotional stability. Some turn to support networks, others to personal reflection or professional guidance. These strategies highlight the remarkable capacity of humans to adapt and persevere even in hostile circumstances. Yet resilience does not imply enduring injustice silently. It also involves speaking out, documenting experiences, and advocating for change. In a sense, resilience and advocacy are two sides of the same coin, surviving harm while working to prevent it from continuing. The ethical dimension extends to bystanders as well. When we witness slander, bullying, or stalking, our choices carry weight. Silence can inadvertently reinforce harmful dynamics, while intervention, whether through offering support, reporting abuse, or questioning false narratives, can create meaningful change. This raises an important reflection. What kind of community do we want to be part of? one that tolerates cruelty and rumor, or one that upholds fairness, empathy, and human dignity? Our daily actions, both online and offline, contribute to the answer. Finally, this discussion invites us to consider the broader philosophical and moral questions surrounding human behavior. Why do some individuals feel compelled to harm others? How can societies balance freedom of expression with protection from harassment? What structures, cultural norms, and personal habits encourage respect and accountability? While definitive answers may be elusive, asking these questions is a vital step toward understanding and addressing the root causes of these problems. It reminds us that slander, bullying, and gang stalking are not just isolated issues. They are reflections of the ongoing struggle to cultivate ethical, compassionate, and just communities.